How's everyone doing?
It has been a while. Yeah, it feels good to be back.
Feels like forever, you know. So we got a lot to talk about. We got to bring everyone up to speed, and I just want to say how honored I am again to be joined by my dear friend Edo and Nathan. Edo, your voice has been so sharp in this place, and unfortunately, after what X did to you, they banned your account or suspended it, I would say. I'm very optimistic. I think you're going to get your account back. It may take some time, but we're getting a lot of attention around that. The good news is your YouTube channel is still active, but I can understand why you needed to take some time off from speaking. You know, it's you put so many years of time and effort into everything you do. So getting silence like that really takes a toll.
Yeah, I think if you are a content creator, you can, especially both of you, Nathan and Versan, you can only imagine what it feels like, let's say, to lose your YouTube channel, or Nathan, in your case, your Instagram, where you have a huge following. And it was very difficult for me, also mentally, because I was thinking about this yesterday. I think X was the place that I have put more energy in all areas of my life. I think it's the place I spend more time and efforts to build my X account. And I even like to say that was somehow my Google, because if I want to find a document, let's say, it's not only for the monetization, guys, not only for making money. It's you build that with passion, and they take like that, you know, they just don't provide any explanation. So it's a place where I like it to look for my research. As you guys know, I have been putting a lot of research in every aspect, from BTC dormant wallets to history of Ripple and XRP, NSA connections. It was all on my X, so they took that away overnight. The good news is that I am fighting back. If you have seen what I done a couple of days ago, I took a horse to their headquarters. And yeah, just a quick update. I know a lot of people are asking me. So I have met with a top-notch law firm in Dublin, besides taking a horse to their headquarters. And we are giving a couple more days, 2 or 3 days, and then we're going to file with an injunction, which the judge likely going to enforce X to restore my account, because there's no legal basis for them to breach a contract. I am a monetized creator on their platform, and they are just giving me the justification that it's called a ban evasion, and that implies that I have done something in the past, in the sense that they had previously suspended my account, and I tried to circumvent the ban, which is absolutely not true. So basically, we came to the conclusion. I was talking to my lawyers. The reason why in Ireland, in Dublin, is because X headquarters are there. And what happened recently is that X has massively laid off employees. So it's very difficult to get a human review of the case. And as you can imagine, that's very costly. We're going to have to file for the injunction. It's going to cost me probably, just to get started, about 20 to 30,000 euros. The good news is that the chances we're going to get the account back are very high, so I'm very happy about that. But I'm not going to lie, last week's was very difficult for me. I got very stressed. I was doing everything I could to recover the account. I wasn't able to put a lot of content, actually no content at all. I couldn't make videos on YouTube channel as well. I lost these fundamental weeks for XRP price action, so it was very important for my work. Well, I took a big hit, but I am still here. I am happy to be back on the turning point. I think it's also important for my own mental health that we continue to do the turning point, and that I keep doing content on YouTube. And overall, I'm also very proud of what I put together in the last couple of days. I know I put a comment on my YouTube channel the day after I lost the account, or 2 days after, and I had decided to quit creating content. I was feeling very sad, but that was a decision that later on I changed my mind. I said I will not quit, I will just continue. And yeah, now I'm just waiting. Let's see if X is going to restart my account. We're putting a lot of pressure, and I'm very thankful for all of you, the audience, Versan, Nathan, all of my friends and content creators that are supporting me on this moment. So I'm very thankful for all of you. I know both of you put a lot of efforts. Nathan did a video to help me out. Versan has shared the video, has made several posts. And yeah, I'm very thankful for you guys for helping me out. It was not very easy the last weeks. It was not only a big hit financially, but also mentally. It was very difficult, but I am glad I am able to overcome it. And I'm very happy I took a horse to the headquarters. I think that was very powerful.
Yeah, it was.
Good on you, mate. It was very emboldening. And
Very admirable.
Yeah. You'll get that account back.
Yeah. And
yeah, I hope so. And just to conclude, it's not only about me when I do this type of actions. It's about everyone. It's about censorship. It's not fair that these platforms have the power to just take your accounts without any justification. The amount of hours, time, and efforts that we put on building these accounts is only someone that is on the other side when you are creating content. So it's absolutely unacceptable that these platforms, and this is also a lesson of what the future is gonna look like, not only for social media, because in the end of the day, what I have been doing lately is we have been appealing their decisions and we can't get a human review. Guess why? Because they are laying off employees. And why is that happening? Because they are using AI to take automated decisions, which is unacceptable. Today, it's about me fighting for my account, which might sound not important for a lot of people. Perhaps in 2 years from now, they're going to fine you for parking in some place that you were legally allowed to. But when you try to appeal, you're not going to get a police officer to have a look at your appealing, but you're going to be discussing with automated systems. And they might go to the point where they're going to automatically deduct the money from your bank account. That's where we are heading towards. So it's not only about my account and the censorship, it's way beyond. And I think if anyone thought Elon Musk was about freedom of speech, you better rethink your principles.
There's always a limit, isn't there? I mean, without digressing too much, I had a similar moment, but I fortunately dodged the bullet probably a little over a year ago now, before I started to really do the XRP content, where I was going to do a bit of an expose on the people behind the block of Candace Owens coming to Australia for her tour, because she still can't come. She's fighting it in the High Court at the moment. And I was about to do a big expose on this person in particular. I won't obviously name names. And I remember that I got contacted by, my mentor and a few other people at the time, and said, look, you're treading a very, very fine line. You need to weigh up the pros and cons of this. This person is very litigious, and the chances of this, escalating are quite high. And it was at that point where I know, some people might think, oh, you should have fought for the freedom of speech on that point. But I went, okay, there's got to be something good that comes out of this. And that's kind of when all of the research unionized into the whole XRP path. And I thought, I think I said it in the first time I came on the show.
Yeah,
let's somehow craft this truth, instead of going after individual targets and doing these big exposés, looking at all the dark stuff. Let's try and help people. Let's try and collate the knowledge and present it in a packageable form to get as many people into, financial freedom eventually as possible. But, you walk too close to the sun, you got unlucky, but I have full faith you'll get the account back. And I'm also I look back when listening to that story that you've just shared. At that moment, it was a pivotal turning point for me, pun not intended. And I kind of dodged the bullet, I think, in hindsight, big time.
Yeah, and just the final thoughts, kind of switching back to the crypto talk. One of the reasons why I can't be sure why they have banned me. They didn't give any reasonable explanation. Indeed, I suspect was about the dormant BTC wallets, because in the same week also I got a strike on YouTube. Remember, I was also banned. It began so long ago. I was also banned on TikTok. It was all happening simultaneously. However, well, I'm not going to share everything I uncovered with this BTC explanation. I mean, I still want to have my YouTube channel. Don't get me wrong. I think I told Versan and Nathan some of the stuff that came out. Now, the only thing I will share is not an opinion, it's just a matter of facts. If you look back in the previous cycle, when the dormant BTC from empty GOX were released back on the markets, they did very similar. It was less, it was about 60,000 dormant BTC. That was the second biggest movement of the decade, which, by the way, back there was the first, but it was now surpassed by the 80,000 dormant BTC. And it's very interesting that was sold OTC, so it didn't immediately affect the markets. But looking for the charts, for an 8 months period, Bitcoin didn't go back to the same levels as it was. So we had huge downwards movement with 60,000 BTC. Now you have to ask what's the impact of 80,000 plus BTC is going to make. And we're not talking now is just a month ago. What's going to happen in the next 8 months if we compare to the previous huge movements of empty GOX? Now, adding some more to the equation, I truly believe we can even see a 150,000 BTC this cycle, but I think it's very difficult. We're going to see Bitcoin going to higher levels because of the amount of dormant wallets. And that, happily enough, probably is not going to affect the potential for XRP, because BTC dominance is still high. So as Bitcoin dominance fades, I don't even think we need BTC to be above 200,000, for example, for the massive XRP leg up. So let's say I truly believe XRP can be at $10, $20 without Bitcoin being at $200,000. But in the short term, let's say in the next months, I do expect some downside action, which is going to be likely caused by these dormant BTCs that are hitting the open markets first via OTC, but at some point they come to the markets and that suppresses the price. Hence, the proof is the empty GOX ones that for 8 months caused BTC to dump.
I mean, if I can share something also regarding everything you've been put together, especially with the Bitcoin narrative, you did get really close. And I think, also the fact that they went after you, Edo, compared to a lot of the other people out there who have significantly more influence, you weren't really repeating narratives. You were actually exposing what's still actively being hidden. And that really proves that, how would I say this, that something very important. Okay, basically, they're not silencing opinions anymore. They are still silencing revelations. And that's what you did there. And where it gets even more interesting when you start to look at the truth of this, if they can censor one of us, they can censor all of us. It's that clear. And that's really the point taken here. I know we're taking so much time talking about censorship, but we need to take this very seriously because we do live in a digital realm now. Everything we do, every transaction, every conversation, every piece of evidence that we're doing, it's all digital. And we still don't have that digital constitution of human rights to protect our rights in a digital realm. And without those legal protections tailored for this era, I would say the door stays wide open for technocrats to overreach. And that's the real concern that I have over here.
Absolutely real. And let's not forget, that's our business from the creator's perspective. That's for me, it's my core business. So I was also affected financially by having my account suspended, unable to create content on YouTube. So yeah, it also shows that I remember back in 2018 when I was on the other side, I was not creating content yet. And I really wanted someone to do what I was doing in these times. So I was really coming out with on-chain information, on-chain data, and I think that's what ended up bothering someone. And I think that's the reason my account got taken down. So we have to be careful. We have been sharing a lot of truths here, but we have to sometimes play with the words, I would argue.
100%. Mm-hmm.
I mind if it's okay, Versan, just segue into the point I wanted to make that kind of came out of the chat I had with notfinancialadvice.crypto. So for the listeners, that's coming out on my channel in a couple of days on YouTube. So stay tuned for that, but very insightful. And it builds upon this broader point around censorship and where we're potentially heading in also the potential technocratic state. And we kind of had this revelation on the chat together that if you simply look at the amount of people on Earth that hold a significant amount of XRP, you're probably looking at max, if we're being, conservative on the high end, like maybe 500,000 people, 500,000, let's just say. What I don't think, and this also builds into the narrative around, well, how can you guys who, seem like good, moral human beings push the beast system coin? And it's something I wrestle with all the time, but I think I finally landed at a conclusion. And the conclusion is that the 500,000 people that will stick through, and it's probably less than that, stick through the peregrinations of the market in the coming years, whatever it takes to get to the destination that we know we're heading towards. I don't think the technocrats truly understand the power of 500,000 people with significant wealth, with good moral values, and what that group of people can do in a potential revolutionary state where if you're doing the stuff that they've just done to you, Edo, right, and things accelerate and get worse and worse and worse, what's the next logical step? And at some point there has to be a revolution. It just repeats. It's cyclical in history. And perhaps we're heading to a climax where if it does go down the malevolent route, how does that look when all the good people, because we know anecdotally, the listeners might not know, but because we deal with so many people on a day-to-day basis, 99% of the people we deal with that actually understand this stuff are in it for the long haul, and they're very good people. And as NFA put really aptly, he said, when you meet these people, they somehow have teleported through knowledge gaps that most people can't get to. They've already met you at the end of the road because they've connected the dots in ways that most people can't, or they're just not allowed to know this knowledge spiritually. They're spiritually not chosen. And I think we can't underestimate that. Yes, it can be doomy and gloomy thinking about these things, but I look at the hope in it all. I really think we're in such a powerful position, and our knowledge is the power because we know what the final destination is, and we're not leaving. And the group at the end of that tunnel is going to be pretty damn powerful.
I think that's a very solid point, very valid. What's interesting is also when you talk about it like that, you start to look at the SEC and their involvement with the suppression. And there's indeed enough evidence to support that the price of XRP is artificially being suppressed. And it's a mechanism to shake people out, to take away that control that they have. And again, with most people in this space not necessarily understanding the position that they're in, it puts us in a position also where with the economic hardships, when we start tying it into the traditional financial system, the average individual is struggling indeed, and they're having to sell their assets to survive. So they're dragging this on as long as they can to take away that control that people don't realize they're in. And I put a tweet out once years ago about how it's very possible that the XRP holders are holding the 1%ers hostage.
Yeah.
It's just a thought, but
I think that's spot on.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Because it's like there's only now from some wallet trackers that I follow on X, this guy that's got a very small audience, but just meticulously like a savant tracks wallets.
Is the XRP wallet?
Yeah. He's amazing. Yeah. It's his one thing. He does it perfectly.
Yes.
And I track it, and shout out to him. I've done a post on him before, but he's terrific. And, there's probably like 1.5 billion XRP owned by retail. And man, do we not budge. Like there is bugger all. And psychologically speaking, when we go through this next run up, the elites, the 1%ers, they have an option. Gets to $20, say, whatever, by the end of this run. You're going to have likely a huge chunk of that final 1.5 billion coins sold. They're going to get sold. And you've talked about this before, Ida. So let's just say we've got 30% of people remaining. So you now have a minuscule amount of XRP actually held by the people that understand what's up. At that point, as the elites, you've got the option. It's like, okay, well, if I let this thing go back down normally, like a normal cycle, without institutional buy-in and utility, et cetera, then these people are just going to buy back in, and people are going to understand that it can reach that higher point now. So even more will probably buy in, and it's just going to drag things on further. That's their chance to make sure that we're out. So at that point, at the $20 range, I don't think they can afford. They can't afford to just plummet it back to $1 or $2 again, because it just goes on and on and on, and more people buy in. I mean, that's where I've landed the last few weeks, because I'm trying to think like they would think. If there's only maybe less than 500 million XRP held by retail in the end, that means they have cleared out 99.95% of the entire supply. I mean, that is pretty much mission accomplished.
The supply shocks building up. You mentioned the XRP wallets guy. I have mentioned many times here on the Turning Point. I follow his work. And recently I think you made a tweet about that, Nathan. Even though I am suspended, I can still see your content, and also Versan and some of the people that I use it to follow. I can still read. I am on read mode. But recently there has been a lot of discussions because people were mistakenly thinking that Chris Larsen was dumping XRP, and that's absolutely nuts. So what's happening is that you had the founders' wallets. It's Chris Larsen, Arthur Brito also holds a substantial amount of XRP, and Brito's wallet wasn't touched for a decade or so. And about 6 months ago, Brito's wallet started to move some funds. Not only he was back on X, but he was also moving some XRP. Now, don't ask me precisely how many XRP these wallets hold combined, but if I'm not mistaken, it's about 6 billion XRP or 4. I don't really know. It might be wrong. However, the fact is, these XRPs are going through exchanges, usually Binance, usually Coinbase, institutional, and these XRPs are moving towards on-demand liquidity. Now, ask yourself a question. Why are they moving the founders' wallets? Because there is a supply shock. They don't have other places to get enough demand, to get enough XRP to fulfill the demand. And people are thinking, oh, they are selling on the exchanges. No, you have this guy, the XRP wallets on X. He does a phenomenal job where he tracks down all the transactions on chain. So you see that on the XRP ledger. And it's literally communicating to us that there is already a supply shock. The only way they're keeping up with on-demand liquidity is using XRP that comes from Chris Larsen. That's happening in real time 6 months ago. And final thoughts, you could see that the same moment Chris Larsen and Arthur Brito's wallets started to move was exactly when XRP price started to move up. So you would argue, if they were to be dumping on exchanges, you would have the opposite effects. Meaning, when XRP was 50 cents, they were when XRP finally went to 90 cents, is when the wallets started to be awakened. So you start to see that price continuously went up despite these XRPs hitting the exchanges, not for to be sold on the open markets, but for on-demand liquidity purposes.
Completely. And it's not, look, realistically, people also go, well, they're never going to let Chris Larsen become a multi-trillionaire. And I kind of subscribe to that. And that's simply answered by, well, they would have had contractual obligations in the early days that said, okay, when we get to a point where we need to suck up some of your coins for ODL, we've got a predetermined price that we'll pay you out at. And it's a no-brainer. That's exactly what they've probably done. We don't know how much.
I would argue he's not even himself in control of that wallet. It's just they have NDAs. It's very plain and simple. It's not. You don't need to be a genius to understand.
There are a lot of non-disclosure agreements. I mean, that much is obvious. Even some of the people we've spoken to, I'm not kidding. It sounds so strange, but on record, when we ask them a question that we ask them the same damn question off record, we get two very different detailed responses. So it's very surface level when we're doing it on record. Off record, we can actually break it down and we can get a confirmation on the answer. I spoke with somebody recently with my brother, and off record, I was like, this is what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to kick the can down the road. They're going to widen the wealth gap. They're going to create artificial demand for digital dollars through RLUSD. That's a mechanism that will support the XRP price getting higher because of the demand for liquidity, cross-border remittances, and so forth. And I said XRP will eventually decouple from the global markets and lead the way as the bridge and the gap to the digital economy. And he pointed his finger at me and he said, exactly. It's incredible. And nothing close like that on record.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Have you guys seen this Satoshi Nakamoto statue that was stolen from Switzerland and it ended up inside the river? That's also something very interesting. Have you not guys seen that?
I did not see that. That is so subliminal.
Yes. That's that notorious Satoshi Nakamoto statue. Let me see if I can pull out a picture so you guys gonna know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I remember that one. I made a comment on it when they first put in. I said, there's no such thing as Satoshi. I kind of broke it down in the LinkedIn comments, got no response to it. But now that I can't believe it's been removed. That's incredible.
Yeah, they did show inside the river. It's this one. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have they recovered it?
I don't know the disclosure of what happened, but I just know that yesterday it was they just found on the river. Now, if they did put it back, I don't really know, but it sounds very symbolic.
It'd be funny if we found out Michael Saylor took it. Yeah, I mean, this is something that we briefly mentioned earlier, is like predictive programming. And you know, that's their weak link, I would say. It's the symbolism in the things that have been done, the things that are out there. And you're really good with this, Nathan. You know, to a lot of your points, we talked about gematria very briefly off record, and it's crazy because I used to analyze Elon Musk's tweets. I'm sorry, guys. This guy has. Go ahead, Nathan. Just cover what I was saying.
Okay. Someone's got the leaf blower out. There's another point I'd like to, maybe unpack a bit, because ultimately, when you look at the symbolism in movies and in riddles and in images and in cryptography, and you start to paint this picture, you know, the lore around XRP and Ripple is one of the most profound laws you can find, because, as I said, at the central core of all conspiracies and knowledge and you know, even spirituality and esoteric circles, it all seems to lead back to this central point. And the central point is, it really is XRP. And I don't know if I'm alone in saying that, but there certainly wasn't alone with NFA when we talked about it. And then you go, well, who's pulling the strings? Like how do they orchestrate, like in the Matrix with, you know, Metacortex's X and Thomas Anderson in gematria equaling 589 and Donald Trump and Ripple the Bull, and, you know, the two bank towers in Matrix as well, gematriaing to be Brad Garlinghouse. And so the logical question remains, like, okay, that's wild and it's mind-blowing, but who's doing it? And this is the interesting point, is maybe some people go, oh, well, it's the evil forces, it's the elites, it's the 1 percenters. NFA made a great point. He said, I actually think that it is God, because God is only allowing the unblind to see what is coming, the select people to see what is coming, because 99% of people can't see it. They just won't see it, or they don't have the strength or aptitude to hang on till the end. It feeds into that point I made earlier. This is a theory, right? I'm theorizing here, and I'm just relaying what me and NFA talked about. And perhaps that's it. Perhaps it's a gift that we can pick up on this, because I don't think there's a director in Hollywood that's trying to implant XRP law in the Matrix. I mean, the movie was made by two trannies. They're transvestites now, I think. I mean, go do what you want to do, but that's the reality. I don't think these people have the foresight to actually do this. But maybe there's something else happening where it's like a tap on the shoulder going, no, they didn't do that. I did that, by implanting something in their brain, and it's okay. You're on the right path. You figured it out. Does that make any sense?
I mean, sorry guys, this guy's still blowing the Leafs. I can't believe it. Like,
Well, it's not so bad.
I just think it's so interesting what you said there, and I've spent so many years, way before I got into the space, diving into the occult, looking at how deeply rooted all of the occult symbolism is, the manipulation of symbols, numbers, emotions, all of it. It's very clear that it's not just about technology. It's really predictive programming. And I know this sounds strange, but like you said, the select chosen, and I've said this before and I'll keep saying it. I do believe within everything who I am, that if your heart is pure indeed, that you are not going to be deceived. God will not allow it. And I think that's a law that is far more powerful than any algorithm or any institution. So I do believe that everything that has unfolded and transpired is prescripted, written long ago, perhaps. But indeed, like, if your heart is pure, I don't think God will allow you to be led astray. And as far as the symbolism in the Matrix and what you discovered was phenomenal, because my cousin and I went to watch that in theaters and I didn't even notice it.
How could you?
It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. And the screen was right in front of my face. It's a big screen, and I still couldn't see it.
Yeah. And then the other one was the KYM in the elevator. A follower of mine sent me that. He said, go check this out.
It's incredible.
Right when Morpheus says you're going to meet, what was her name? She's not the prophet. The
Oracle.
The Oracle. Yeah. We're going to see the Oracle. And as he says it, Neo's head pans to KYM, and KYM in Gematria KYM is just another acronym for Know Your Customer, which we all know from banking and crypto. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, first result, I believe, first or second result, KYM is XRP, and then it comes up with a bunch of other stuff. And then the way it just flows on with Morpheus, I think there's a couple other things I can't remember off the top of my head. It's a completely different part of the movie, but it's just, it's bizarre. And then the F1, I know you just brought it up on screen there, the F1 movie with that blatant X. Yes, it's slightly different angle, but it's like so similar. And apparently at the end, I haven't seen the full movie, only seen snippets because I haven't been able to get to a cinema to watch it in Europe. But at the end, the kind of other protagonist in the movie is obviously an African American man, or African. I don't think he's English, but he's obviously black. And throughout the whole movie, he refers to him as his name, but right at the end of the movie, he calls him Swan, Black Swan. So he's potentially, again, another maybe hidden push to insinuate that there is a Black Swan event on the horizon that could accelerate things. I don't know. I mean, there's just, you can't read into every single thing, but the overarching sentiment, as you aptly put, Versan, is I don't think God is letting the pure-hearted be deceived. He's actually showing the people with the open eyes, this is the path, you're okay, trust me. That's how I read it.
Interesting. I know I saw some of the comments here. Some people are like, come on. I mean, I understand the skepticism, but it's
You
too
can't buy
obvious
all
at
of
this
it.
point.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
but
buy
it's
every
it's
single
too
one of them.
obvious
No.
at this point. I mean, the signs are always there, hence the, the thumbnail I put together here. The signs have always been there. It's just we didn't know where to look for it. And if we're trying to now bring this into reality about XRP, and that's what I try my best to do, is bridge everything into what you hear some of the economists talk about. And for instance, if you look at the stablecoin bill and the Genius Act, and we'll talk about that here in a moment, but the broader context is that that is converging with the rising national debt, all the out of control spending, the central bank experiments of digital liquidity. And that's really what they're looking for here. They're looking for a new alternative source of liquidity. Make no mistake. And we're still tied to these 4-year cycles, the liquidity cycles. So the infrastructure for where this is all going is being built still. I don't think this is utility driven market just yet. I still think it is speculation still, not XRP, but the movement that we're going to start seeing. That's why Trump has been attacking Jerome Powell, calling him stupid. It's because he wants a weaker dollar. He wants lower rates. And historically, if you look at the patterns as far as the 4-year cycles, every time we get a falling dollar, and that means risk on assets. So Bitcoin does begin to run first, and there's another rabbit hole around Bitcoin. We don't want to get into that today, but that's when altcoin season starts to flow, right? And you have a bull market. So don't confuse momentum with sustainability as well. But the grander shift behind all of this is that we're phasing out of traditional markets and we're moving into the digital economy. So the demand for stablecoins is going to spike, and it's already beginning to spike. And with that demand, assets that support the infrastructure must rise in value. And we can tie that later on into supply, demand, and scarcity. So it's not about hype. It's not about just functionality. It's also about removing a lot of the friction. And it's just one of the mechanisms. And there are so many others. But XRP, there's no doubt about it at this point, based on everything you described, Nathan, and all the work we've been doing. But it's playing the most critical role in where the future is going. And yes, final thing, if I could say, actually, as far as the XRP, some people will speculate that this is technology to save us from the system, and others are saying is indeed the beast system. This is where I find it very interesting. If you pay attention to what RippleNet is doing for the central banks at the central bank level, they're selling them the fintech, the rails. That's RippleNet. It enables them to use the XRP to move value around it. However, this is where it gets interesting. If indeed they are losing control, to which we can confirm that they are, there are going to be some sort of digital monies, you could say central bank digital currencies, stable coins, that kind of falls into the stablecoin bill, where this is all going. But in different jurisdictions, and this is where it gets interesting. If you follow the BIS CBDC platform and what they're doing, they talk about different jurisdictions and each jurisdiction issuing their own stablecoin or central bank digital currency. Then those jurisdictions, based on their countries, whatever it is, if you go, for instance, to Canada, it's more tyrannical, you could say. Same thing with the UK and even Australia. I talk to people every day from around the world, and they are, there's more pressure. But if you go to Dubai, you go to Singapore, it's a little more open, their central bank, right? So if they're going to have a central bank digital currency, then XRP is that bridge, that gap. So it's the safest bet to be able to move in and out of different CBDCs, if you think about it like that. Therefore, you wouldn't be stuck transacting within one central bank digital currency. So it's an exit strategy, you could say. And it's, I think, the best way to position yourself for where this is all going, not just because of the infrastructure, but the fact that it is a gateway. And that's very important, that word gateway. If you can have access in and out of different CBDCs, if that's the case where it's going, then you have more control and more leverage in the new system for yourself.
Definitely. It's a double-edged sword, though. It's like when they launched, was it .onion, the anonymous browser for what obviously facilitated a lot of dark web stuff back when the internet was birthed or mainstreamed. The government built that for anonymity, but in doing so, they also had to provide the public anonymity. It's a complete double-edged sword. And I see it the same way here. Yes, it's going to have the system for the central banks, but the survivors, as you just pointed out, the people that don't exit their positions, well, tough shit. We also benefit. It's like, because it is decentralized. The big myth around, is XRP centralized? Oh, they can freeze your money. They can turn. No, they can't. It's embedded in the code. They can't do that. So, yeah, and that goes into the stable. I think the stablecoin bill is very illuminating. Some of the points I've pulled out of there where, no interest yields anymore on stablecoins. Obviously very, very we'll go into it if you want. I'll let you segue in, and then I've got some points here that I can share. But to round out, I couldn't agree more. I think we know where it's heading, but I do believe in my heart of hearts that we're going to be not just okay. I truly believe we will thrive, and only God knows what that opportunity will allow us to do for the less fortunate.
Amen. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Mm-hmm.
I guess we're gonna be able to run a parallel system in which XRP is for the 0.1%. We're gonna actually on the rails, as Versan always says, you own a piece of the infrastructure, and that makes you an equal to the bankers, if you will. And then you're gonna have the stable coins for the peasants. I'm sorry to put that with these words, but that's exactly how I see it's going to happen. Because if you see the stable coins, you have something that is called, now, sorry guys, I have a brain fog on how it's called, but when they can reverse the transactions on the ledger and seize your stable coin, there is actually a feature on the XRP ledger. And not only on the XRP ledger, they can do the same with USDT, with Circle, USDC, every stable coin. I remember. It's called the clawback feature on the XRP ledger. That's how it's called. But the same doesn't apply for XRP. So XRP is the native token of the XRP ledger, and nobody can seize your XRP. Nobody can reverse transactions of your XRP. So you are pretty safe by holding XRP. Now, if you just have the stable coins, and that's why CBDCs are designed. What I see is going to happen in the future is, for example, if you get a traffic fine, you will not have the possibility to choose to pay or not pay that fine. They're going to automatically deduct from your bank account. Hence why they already do that in China. If you look at the Chinese model of central bank digital currencies, they leverage blockchain technology where they have clawback features. Hence why the Chinese yen has a digital version of the yen that comes with a date of expiry. So it also prevents people from accumulating the currency, because if you don't spend all the currency basically on the next month, that comes with a date of expiry, so you can't accumulate currency, you can't own property. I think that's the way they are designing the system with stable coins. Don't get mistaken with the names. They call it stable coins, but down the road it's going to be a CBDC. Well, it already is some sort of CBDC. But if you own the infrastructure, if you own the native tokens, that's where your freedom relies. And that's why I believe it's so powerful to be holding currencies like XRP, XLM, Hedera, HBAR, and some of the others that we have always spoken about on the turning point.
This genius after pass. I may as well read through these points. I kind of grab the best points.
Please
summarize them. But so just going off your point there, Ido, I think this dovetails nicely. Issuers must be approved and centrally licensed. So only entities licensed and regulated by federal or state authorities can issue payment stablecoins. Non-bank entities require approval from the comptroller of the currency, which centralizes issuance gatekeeping. Programmatic control via lawful orders. Issuers must have the ability to freeze, seize, or burn coins in response to a lawful order. This includes real-time compliance and auditability. Prohibition on interest and yield. So Section 4, prohibited activities, makes it clear that payment stablecoin issuers shall not offer or advertise any interest, yield, or other form of return based solely on holding the stablecoin. So, of course, their aim here is to ensure that, you know, there's no threat to fractionalized banking and that the cash and the dollar remains within the banks and you don't run off and, you know, get 10% yield on your USDC. I don't know how all this is going to play out, but this is the language that's in the doctrine. Then there's big tech that's caged as well. You know, no stable coins without permission. Public companies not engaged in financial services can only issue stable coins if they get unanimous approval from a special committee. They don't monetize transaction data and they don't tie stablecoin use to other products. So that's a little snapshot of some of the language in there. And I mean, you can go on a lot further, but I mean, it's basically just pushing you towards it's CBDC. It is. You've always said it. It's just CBDC in disguise, propped up by this fancy pants marketing campaign, anti-CBDC act. But it's basically just well-massaged language, and no one's going to look through those documents. And there you go. I mean, that took me probably an hour or so with the help of GPT to collate certain portions and tie it all together succinctly and cross-reference. There you go. Like it's written in plain sight. And then, you know, the Clarity Act that's coming is where it all kind of ties together nicely, because the only ones that are going to get the free reign are the ones that aren't classified securities or meme coins or what other classifications there are. You're going to need to be classified a commodity or a currency. And you're going to need, basically, from my reading, you're going to need at least a 10-year track record. You need a proof that you are decentralized. There's another bunch of criteria in there that you can look at yourself. So really, the whole thing's designed for XRP to win. Like, it will win. Everything else is going to get obliterated. Bitcoin and Ethereum probably do survive just because they will. Free passes in the past. But it's going to obliterate, as Brad said, 99% of the market's going to get absolutely poleaxed and blindsided. And it's written in the law. Like, you can see it coming. And that's when it all ties in. We've talked about the esoteric spiritual stuff, but when you get into the hard-hitting facts as well, that's where you see it all makes sense, and the maths.
Yeah, you're bridging the facts too. And this is in the bill. I haven't even finished it. But the Genius Act, to your point, is being branded as innovation and legislation about innovation. But all it's doing is really opening the door for programmable money. And that's why, you know, years ago, I was telling people exactly the stable coin, if you studied what a stable coin was by definition and the frameworks at the BIS, they were talking about this years ago. It mirrors a central bank digital currency. And and the scary thing is this, the back and forth debate you saw in Congress. I don't know if you guys saw this when Taylor, I can't pronounce her last name, but she kept fighting back. And other people were fighting back. Do you remember the bill kept going back and forth and it didn't get passed? I'm telling you right now, that was 100% political theater and controlled opposition, because the real deal happened behind closed doors. After the public resistance, that's for the masses, people were saying this, people were saying that. I saw X go on fire because of this, all right? Suppose they were opposing CBDCs and others were talking about it, but then they had a meeting privately with Trump. And then the bill got passed all of a sudden. And here's what people need to understand is that stablecoin is essentially based on what you described there and read there, word for word, is centrally issued. It means it's monitored nearly at the same functional impact as a CBDC. So you could call it whatever the hell you'd like, digital dollar, universal basic income, or a government-backed crypto or stablecoin. That's what I think eventually will open the door for XRP to dominate the whole market. But essentially, it's programmable money. That means it can be frozen, it can be redirected, or even time expiring. And that's the scary thing. So this is why it's so important to hold assets outside of the system. And that's not a luxury. I'm sorry. It's a necessity.
Necessity, I agree. And we have to look for the definitions of a CBDC and a stable coin. And it's just a small difference. Basically, a CBDC is government issued and a stable coin should be issued by a private company. But let's analyze. Someone in the comments has said something wise. Stablecoins are for private companies, but people forgot that the Fed is also a private company. Well, I agree. However, they don't really need to use the Fed. It doesn't need to be the Fed to issue a stablecoin. That would cause too much noise. That would cause rage from people. What if you had a private company, or better, what if the government funded a private company dressed as the government? Think about which company is that. I already proved that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So they can operate using a private company, but in the same way, that's the government. They just will not tell you on your faces. Well, I uncovered that on some of my videos. So I guess we all know where we are going. I guess it doesn't really matter. People are getting this false hype because think about, I don't want to offend people, but we have a lot of Trump supporters that they oppose CBDCs, and I totally understand. I mean, it's horrible. However, they celebrate stablecoins. You get what I am saying? It's a paradox. I mean, they both are the same thing. So they put things on plain sight. That's how the politicians operate. So the human mind keeps levitating around and can't really see the truth. And they give people fake hope. It's called this, they give people hype. People have the illusion that things are changing for the better, but ultimately they are doing every single steps as they plan. Hence why they are actually implementing CBDCs, but everyone's thinking the other way.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why XRP is not necessarily, or it's the best bet in the digital asset space. It's going to win. But I don't think we should treat it as a savior. We should treat it as a strategic tool.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's for all in life. I mean, we can't also romanticize anything. In the end, it's just a tool. We have to take the best advantage and use this tool to build wealth and to build a way outside of the system. I think that's everything that we have to do in the next years. And ultimately, we already won. We have the knowledge. We know how to secure our digital assets. We know that we are heading towards CBDCs, and we are taking the necessary actions to secure wealth for generations.
Agreed. Yeah,
now it's just a matter of unfolding. It's just a matter of time. But I think everyone that watches the show has already somehow secured their wealth for the next generations.
Agreed. Vendel and I had a phone call the other day, and we went on for like 20 minutes. And then towards the end, the only message we had for each other, it's a waiting game. That's it. But they're certainly going to kick the can down the road. What I want to tell people is that I'm very bullish and optimistic about where the market's going right now with this big, beautiful bill that already got passed. It's just justifying more money printing, QE, without even calling it that. Trump is going to get what he wants eventually. He always does. And you're going to see the dollar weaken. And that is going to significantly inflate the markets and asset prices. So I think our audience, including us, we're positioned very well for a massive bull market. And then I think later on, after this bull market, we're going to see a decoupling eventually. That utility phase that a lot of people are anticipating now is not going to
There has to be a catalyst.
Yes, there's going to be a massive catalyst. And that is going to be as a result from all the extreme leverage in the banking system. If you could follow what the banks have been pushing for the last few months. Remember when I got debanked? A few days later after I got debanked, they were allowing banks to start allowing people to transact with crypto back and forth. They were incentivizing, there are legal documents to support this, they were incentivizing people to borrow more money. They were incentivizing banks to lend more money. The only reason they would do that is to bring this massive wealth gap into the digital ecosystem with what I Trust Capital is doing and a lot of these ETF talks now. It's designed as a mechanism to bring regulated capital from traditional markets and roll that shit over into the digital ecosystem. That is significantly going to inflate the entire crypto space, assets across the board. And that's how we're going to get gold also to about $4,000, maybe even higher.
I concur.
I'm serious. I know it sounds really boring and crazy, but that's exactly what they're going to do. So it is a waiting game. If you're in the right place at the right time, you're going to make a lot of money. And as soon as that plays out, it could be very sharp how it declines. You're going to have some sort of boom bust response. And if you're in the right place, you capitalize on all that. Like we said, XRP is a tool. I would not encourage selling the XRP, but if you can diversify into some of the lower cap technologies like SHX, I mean, you guys remember this. We've all made money in SHX. A lot of our listeners have.
I took profits.
Yeah, me too, like 4 times now. And with those profits, I've divested it into gold, physical silver. You guys see that I posted on the Instagram. I bought about 4 ounces of gold last week. And the rest of the cash is being put aside for buying opportunities. And you just keep riding that cycle back and forth. Don't fight the current, but ride the wave. And what you'll realize is that every time you're doing this without touching those strategic positions, you're getting wealthier and you're preserving wealth too. So we've made a lot of people money on this channel.
And you're securing your position on the long term, because then you have the luxury that you don't need to touch your XRP bag for your living or for buying properties or whatever you want to make with your diversified money.
Agreed. I mean, it's never been easier to make money if you get it, I guess. I don't know.
And that's the yield opportunities are not far away. I got some inside info last week. I'll maybe chat about it offline, but yield opportunities with insurance, legit above board, is way closer than everyone thinks. And I'm not talking, whacking your money in Nexo and getting 9% and holding it on there and none of that. I'm talking institutional grade custody with insurance, legit, ducks, nuts, perfect, not far away. And again, this is what they don't want you to be holding XRP at this point, because that is where you can leverage probably its commodity status or whatever and be earning your handsome between 4 to 6%. It might be a little bit higher. And yeah, you don't have to sell.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing too. I mean, we've been teaching this a little bit on our courses because we're not there yet. We're still in the early phases of the regulatory frameworks. But eventually, you're not going to have to sell your XRP into fiat currency and trigger a taxable situation. You can borrow against your XRP without having to sell it through these crypto lending platforms. Once they're regulated, that accept XRP as collateral and you can borrow against it. This allows you to access liquidity that is on the rise and in demand while keeping the XRP intact. And it's perfect if you're trying to make other investments. So there's a time and place for it, I would say.
Yeah, and if you want to act before, which I don't recommend, but let's say you have to, find a jurisdiction that allows you to sell XRP and not pay any taxes. In Europe, we have great examples. Cyprus is one of them. Portugal works very well. So you always have a choice in the end. I know maybe if you're just selling $10,000, it doesn't make sense. But if you get to hold, let's say 6 or 7 digits in crypto, I definitely recommend you to look for the best jurisdictions. Let's say I'm from Italy. If I were to be leveraged in the Italian jurisdiction, I would have lost a lot of money because we have heavy taxation there. And I have chosen to set myself abroad. So you can always have a second choice.
Agreed. Yeah, massive wealth opportunities ahead. Just gotta be vigilant, be smart, and try not to over leverage yourself. I know a lot of people use leverage in the crypto space. That's very dangerous. Try to use your own money and minimalize your expenses. Less is more. It really is.
I agree. Well, we're getting close to the 60 minutes. Any final thoughts, Versan, Nathan?
Nathan, would you like to go?
Yeah, I just think my message is of optimism. I mean, it's been a brutal couple of weeks for a lot of people in the community. I mean, I've just started a little private community the last few weeks as well, and I know the team in there, most of them get it like us, which is great. But it's tough, it's tough. It's not easy to ride these peregrinations out. We're all humans, and you get the big sniff of hope at $3.60 reaches all-time highs, and this is what the market makers love, and this is exactly what they want to do. They want to really grind you down and beat you to death, basically, and you get that sniff of all-time high, and then it all just completely plummets and panic sets in and fears just rife, blood on the streets. It's like, oh no, the bull run's cancelled. And you spend 99% of the time in the doldrums, and it's your fundamental knowledge, and I guess your spiritual calling would be my 2 cents, that will keep you steadfast through this process, because most of the time we're not riding the highs of green candles, we're sitting in the lows of red candles. So just hang tough. We all know what's coming. We don't know when, but that's the message from me.
Oh, very positive. I mean, overall, I'm optimistic. I think we're going to see a massive bull market. It's approaching. You just have to be vigilant and patient and understand that market cycles are always looking for opportunity. Whenever there's blood on the street, that's when you buy, and try to take some profits when it's on the way up, as more people are selling assets to get involved. And that's when you should be taking some profits. Have your long-term strategies that you do not touch, short-term strategies for profit taking specifically, because if you do not play these cycles with the way the job market is right now, with inflation, and inflation is going to get higher next year, most people are going to get pushed into poverty, not because they want to, it's because they'll be forced into it. And that's exactly what they're trying to do here from the other side of this conversation, as far as having a predetermined solution. And that's the central bank digital currency. So all of this is going to converge at the right time and place, but there will be some sort of catastrophic event, maybe in the markets, maybe on the geopolitical stage. But, the XRP alone is being built in the infrastructure level for a multipolar world. And that's a very important takeaway that everyone should have.
Totally agree, Versan. Just a reminder, the BTC dominance is still very high, above 60%. So there's still a lot of gasoline on the fire for the overall altcoin season that still hasn't fully begun. We have huge opportunities on the crypto space, not only with XRP, but with other currencies as well. So we got to keep an eye on Bitcoin dominance as well. I think once it starts to decrease, let's say below 55% is when the real fun starts to begin. It's still pretty high, so you still have some time to organize your portfolio. Don't let the emotions take over. You have to always close the door for emotions in the crypto space, otherwise you're going to end up losing money. And final thoughts for me, well, be very careful with fake accounts, especially on X. My real account's not there. There are about 1,000 fake accounts of mine on X. And I'm getting messages that people are losing life savings. That's very, very shameful that my original account is banned, but the fake accounts are out there. So be very careful. And I guess that's it. Well, my final message is, if you can share Versan's message yesterday where he puts out about my account suspension, go on X, tag X not support, because their account's no longer active. So you're going to definitely put them some pressure so I can get my account back. I would very much appreciate that.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on again, Edo. I mean, this show isn't a show without you, really. I need you here. And I'm glad to have Nathan part of this team as well. And hopefully we could do a real big group chat where we can get everybody involved. I'm talking about my brother and David as well.
Thank you so much.
Hard to module, but I'm sure we can.
To everyone, your support's not going unnoticed. We're also getting some donations, so I appreciate a lot. It has been a very tough month, spiritually, mentally, financially. I mean, it was very challenging. But I hope everything, I know in my heart things will get better, so I'm very happy to be back on the turning point, and hopefully next Monday we're going to be here at the same time, the three of us.
Be here. Yes, we are. Okay, you're not missing out. I need you here.
I'll be back. Yeah. I'll be here. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.